the research says that over 80% of our spend is going to two companies. It's going to Google and Facebook. And with that, I would like to introduce Adriana Greinberg, who's going to run our next panel, focusing on the future of measurement. Be easy on them.
Hello. Okay, the future of measurement. Let's see what we get. We have the specialists here. The good news is that we have more and more data. We have more and more specialists to solve this problem that you just commented about, but we need to work together. It's not one piece that's going to solve the measurement part. Who else here in this room wants to understand what's driving sales? Please, raise your hand. So that's what we are going to talk about. How do we going to get to the point that we have data helping us to measure what matters to our businesses? So I'm calling now Carol Louis from Facebook. She's our measurement partner lead. Miguel Hernandez from Nielsen. He is a specialist on MMM. Carlos from Analect Omnicom Group, also here in our panel, and Andres Polo from Visa. He's VP for Digital Marketing Latin America. So we have all of the pieces, because nobody's going to solve this by ourselves, isn't? We do understand, everybody here in this room is anxious to understand how, isn't? We hear the problems. They are similar. Everybody feels the same pain here, isn't? We want to measure. How? How? So that's a little bit what we are going to discuss. You guys are so dark. It's fancy, no? Okay. I hope I don't have the lights not on me. It's on you guys, because you are going to be the answers of this panel. Okay. I'm going to start with you, Andres, because you feel this pain, isn't it? You feel every day this pain of being the one in the position of looking to the data, as Anna just did. And I want to ask you, on the context of effectiveness, what's your biggest challenge? When you want to prove the case that it works or it doesn't, how do you do it?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for inviting us here. And guys, there are seats over here. I see a lot of people standing in the back, so don't be shy. Two things that we look at, right? So number one, the challenges and what we look to measure our campaigns are getting more and more complex. Why? Because we're looking at media fragmentation. Right? Before, we were able to look at 2 or 3 media vehicles, and it was easy to kind of measure this. What we're seeing now is that there's a lot of players out there. There's a lot of misunderstanding of the data, and I love the last panelist from PepsiCo where talked about that data informs, right? So it's how do we bring all of these points together in order to bring measurement that really drives our business. In the case of Visa, for us, it's a second challenge, and I want to bring it up, is privacy. Customer privacy is key for us, and data privacy is important. So sharing our data with third parties makes that a little bit more complex.
Good. Carlos, you are an expert on MMN, isn't? And this is one of the ways we actually measure. What do you think in overall is working well? And what do you think is missing for us to be able to measure sales?
So I would say that beyond just marketing mix modeling and the practice that we do and we have there, we have to mention that one of the biggest things that the industry is missing today is about proper measurement, right? Because we all think that measurement is just about data collection and dashboarding, right? So before thinking about actually measuring the impact of different variables in your business KPI, you have to have the right data and in the right place. So when you talk about that, you know that you need to start with the business definition of your client, right? And set the objectives. And that sounds very simple, but you would be amazed of the amount of clients that we have today that don't have that already set, right? We sometimes face some briefs when you don't have the clear objective, or it's something about an intermediate variable, or we are all pursuing awareness, right? But the final end of the industry or the business that you are in goes beyond that. So we would say that to do a proper measurement, you need to have a framework, right? And in the framework, you will have the objective, the data lake, and also all the information that you require to have an information about the way that you are taking these different decisions. That is the first issue that we have, the measurement for all the clients. And the second one relates to data, right? It's pretty obvious, but today we need to say that we can't complain about the lack of data because we have too many sources today, right? It is about how we as practitioners simplify that complexity in the different data sources and put it at the service of the techniques that we apply so we can create different solutions for the client. And in data, I would say that we are all pushing the industry, the data owners, so we can have better quality in that data. And that means to have transparency, accuracy, and finally, it's about really getting into access to more granular data. Because when you have more granular data, then you will be able to use that data and provide real tactical solutions for the clients, something that they can use in a daily basis.
Very interesting. It's interesting because a lot of times we listen the same problem. We have too much data. We don't know what works, what's bad, what's good. No, Ana said that good or bad. The thing now is also what is available in Latin America, isn't? Because Nielsen is a great partner to tell us what is available in Latin America. There are a lot of companies that come to us and said, yes, my company does in the US different than I can do in Latin America. There are some differences because it's not everything that's available in both of the regions. Can you clarify for us, for now, what do we have, not in the future, right now? Can we understand what's available from Nielsen?
Sure. Hello, guys. So, can you hear me okay?
Miguel, yes, please.
Yes, great. So, well, thank you for the invitation also. Here in Latin America, we, from the Nielsen side, our main solution in order to capture the impact on sales coming from media is marketing mix modeling. So marketing mix modeling is not a solution that it's new to the market. Actually, marketing mix modeling has been in the market for a long time. But to the actual data available that we have in Latin America, marketing mix solution, marketing mix modeling is still the best that we have, at least looking at the CPG or consumer packaged goods industry. We do want to move into multi-touch attribution, that we know it's kind of the future of understanding the impact of media into sales. But one of the key challenges that we face here in Latin America when it comes to that, it's data. I know that we have bunches of data. I know that we have a lot of sources available, but at the end, it's how we can actually measure and we can get all of those different sources at a good level that match and do actually make sense across all of those sources. I do agree with you guys that the most important thing is for us to understand what is the actual business objective and the business issue from our clients and from the advertisers, so we can actually understand what we want to measure and how we can come with actual actions or recommendations that can imply into much better business for them.
Okay, so we have a client here. Let's ask the client though. If the client should come up with the question, what is your KPI, Andres? What do you measure? Tell us.
So for us, very simple. And I hope all of you, your preferred method of payment is Visa. What we measure are transactions. Now, it's easier said than done, right? It's easier said that, we ran this campaign and immediately, real time, I'm going to track the impact that the campaign had on consumer behavior. The reality is that at our core, we're a technology company in the payment space. What does that mean is that the relationship between the consumer is with the client that issued that product. So all of you have a Visa card, I hope, in your wallets. All of you have that card, but that card is issued by a client. So what we do is that we look at two things. Of course, we look at transactional behavior, because at the end that's what brings value to our shareholders. But number two, we look at brand. How is our brand? That is our most important asset, besides our employees, of course. It's our brand. So we look at brand lift studies, right? And here's where the challenge lives, right? So we have these brand lift studies through partners, through others, but it's not a consistent approach across the different platforms. So I think as an organization and as an industry, we need to look at consolidation and consistency across the way that we measure brand lift within different platforms, and that's what we're trying to do right now.
So if I hear you, as Miguel was saying, we want multi-touch attribution. We want to be able to understand in the path to purchase what happened, no? In digital, TV, whatever else you do, no? Okay, that's a big challenge for you, Carol, isn't it? Because you are from our marketing science team, and I want to hear from you, what are you doing that is helping us to learn and to go into this direction of attributing to all of this path?
So as a marketing science team, we believe in data and in science. And also, as both of you mentioned in the previous panel, also, you believe also in good
I
management.
can hear you well, isn't it? Yeah? Should you stand up? Come on.
So we believe in good management, and I think that is giving echo if this one on. Okay, now it's better. Okay, problems with mics. And with that, we have a partnership program because we as a platform, we believe also that they are advertisers that will be able to enter in our platform and use our measurement solutions, but also there are like others that they want transparency and third-party solutions, and that's like the companies that I work with. In our framework, we also have like a framework that we believe in audience, in brand, and in sales outcome, and generating like value like to those clients. Today, as Facebook, we have 24 partners globally, going like from Nielsen Mode to Kantar, Millward Brown. So they are like many partners. We also are open and we receive like the same complaints of you. We know that today there are like measurements that are good, but also I want like to work with you, also like to evolve, because as you mentioned, so this role of partnership is not like doing our work alone, working like just with Facebook data, but is how we can integrate the data with the others to have a cross media and cross device measurement. Okay.
It's interesting because we really need the data from different pieces to put in that box and be able to read the multi-touch attribution. And then we have these partners here. So I would ask for Visa, for you, Andres. How can you ensure that the model finds recommendations, that the model that finds recommendation is adopted? Because sometimes you say, oh, this is what we need to do in order to measure people-based, or this is what we need to do, integrate those data, integrate those partners. How do you assure this happens in the end in your company?
We just leave it up to you guys at Facebook. No.
Okay, I got my budget.
No, the reality is that it is a continuous evolution, right? Internally, although you guys may seem Visa, it's a big company, at the end of the day, we're a small global company. And what we try to do is share best practices, share learnings across the teams. Not only across the teams in Latin America, but across our global teams. So the first step, and what we're trying to do, is create a standard way of measurement. Believe it or not, everybody has their way of measuring. And when everybody has their way of measuring, then objectives become a little bit cloudy. And when objectives become a little bit cloudy, then it becomes tough for us to have those tough conversations with our country managers. So the first step is standardization in the way of measurement. We talked about, and the last panel talked about something very important, and is defining your true business KPIs. Mm-hmm. If we don't have a true business KPI, it doesn't matter the data that we have or the partners that we have, we're still going to be shooting off the hip, and as the panelists from PepsiCo last time said, we're chasing that shiny object, right? So 6 years ago was likes, shares, comments, and PTAT. Now we're moving into a more, what is it that this is bringing to our business? So I would say define business KPIs, share consistently, and then here comes the tough part, is as more data and more consistent measurement, there is a toll. Two, the first toll is monetary, right? This costs money. It's not free to go out and do a lot of this measurement. It's not free to retool an organization to become performance marketing driven. And two is human capital, right? So training and continuous training, both from internal know-how and external companies. So it's a complex situation, but I think that together we can move forward.
That's great. So I would ask you, Carlos, you know, what are the insights that you can take from MMM that would help us to understand the value it brings? What is MMM? Does everybody know MMM?
Okay,
Stands
so
for what? Mark
yeah,
makes
I
notes.
stand by the MMM. So MMM is candy. When you talk about attribution, you need to start thinking about two different approaches, right? Depending on what you are trying to measure. The first approach is macro attribution. It's going to be a little bit technical, but it is something that you require to have. No, well, yeah. So you have macro attribution, that is the approach that you use, all the set of utilities and technologies and systems that you put in place so you can actually measure the long-term effect on a KPI, right? Let's say that you're trying to measure the sales, so you will use macro attribution. You have different techniques that will depend whether you apply one or the other on the data that you have available, but also on the objective that you have. So you can start by doing something really simple as brand lift or sales lift, right? However, if you want to become a little bit more accurate and sophisticated, then you will start using marketing mix modeling, right? Which is the application of statistical and econometrical thinking to really understand what are the key variables explaining the behavior of your sales, okay? If you have more data, if you have more granular data with a single source, then you can apply something that is called the consumer mix modeling, right? That is something, it's the same technique that the marketing mix modeling by using different data, and at the end you will have more granularity and more description of the tactics that you can use with that. That is the macro view, okay? But you also have micro attribution, right? That is the evaluation of different techniques to measure the short-term effect of the action that you have on a specific KPI. It is more related to the digital activity because you can actually monitor different actions or behaviors of people in different platforms and try to create an algorithm or a method so you can actually say at the end in what proportion is each one of the platforms responsible for the last conversion, right? That is something that challenges at all times the previous understanding that we had from Google, you know, the last touch and the rules base. And that's the biggest techniques that we have today. When you talk about the insights coming from a marketing mix modeling, you can start thinking about how you can do proper budgeting, right? That is one. You can start doing a better mix modeling as well. And also you can start doing some forecasting in terms of creating different scenarios to actually foresee how is it going to be the final outcome of the decision that you take. That is something that has a lot of error as well because you have to monitor that in an ongoing basis. However, it's a guide and like something that can lead you through the way of doing real data marketing.
So I listen, there are some concerns that the only thing that we can do to measure attribution is MMM, isn't Carol? Is this, how do you see the concerns that we hear from our clients about MMM only as a solution?
So for example, the main concerns when also like an agency or an advertiser starts like getting like the data that goes around, you should get like access like to accurate data. Because if you put garbage in, you're gonna get garbage out. So we as Facebook now, we did like a program where also like the advertiser or some partners, they can have access to our data directly. So this can reduce also like some pain. Another thing, it was also because as those models were built like 30 years ago, the digital came, and then you do have like a bucket of digital or you have like a bucket of social, so you're not able like to measure a publisher. So we incentivize also during like those types of programs, so we are not letting them only like in the hands of the research companies, but we are actively participating and pushing the industry with you guys, because without you we cannot pilot, because the campaigns are not ours, the campaigns are your campaigns, and we are all working together on those pilots also. We did like recently like one test also with together with Nielsen to get like a more deep dive on digital. So what that means? That means that in those models, we're going to expanding also the data pipeline to get like more complexity of our data. And this will allow them also like to get not only the understanding of digital, but then you can deep dive in the publisher. Inside the publisher also, for example, you can deep dive in the type of ads that you are running in our platform. Another complaint that we receive also from the market research companies is, you are so fast because you are a tech company. We cannot follow also the amount of products that you are constantly changing and evolving. So we are also working like on educating like those companies for them to understand better our platform, because if the research companies, they don't understand the way that you are advertising in our platform, how they can develop also good measurement and accurate measurement to measure like the result for you. So,
Miguel,
yeah,
I think you are a good partner to jump on, and I want to hear from you. You work on Nielsen, so how do you partner with Facebook to have available the data that we have to do better measure to our clients? Is it?
Yeah. So I think that it's been, well, I don't think, it's been quite actually a great experience to go to work with Facebook and to partner with clients and advertisers in order to understand better the actual impact of digital. It's funny, I've been doing marketing mix for the last 10 years, and if I look back, then I think, well, 10 years ago, we didn't even think about having data for digital, right? 5 years ago, at the best case, we got like a total amount of clicks, you know?
Yeah, if you want, I think you have one slide. Do you
Yeah,
want to show?
definitely. And if we take a look at the past, then we would also got only clicks, and now we are able to get a much more granular data in order to measure the actual impact of sales on sales from marketing activities or digital activities, right? So in this case, actually, this comes from a work that we've been doing with Facebook. This is a 9-brand case that we've been doing with brands from Asia and from Latin America. And one of the first things that we see, and I think that this will not be news to anybody, right? A higher concentration of non-digital media, right? So basically what we see is that non-digital media is actually something around 10 times of the spending that we got on Facebook on these brands. And also the digital non-Facebook activities, actually are something around 2 times or 3 times even bigger than Facebook. But when we look actually at the results on return on investment, we see that digital overall is coming with a much still higher opportunity of return on investment in our media environment, in our media vehicles, right? And also when we take a look at Facebook, we also see that we have also a good opportunity over there, right? So still some opportunities from the actual industry to start investing more in digital and still feeling more confident about this. I think that one of the key challenges that we face as an industry is to start actually feeling confident on how much can we go into that digital space, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. We hear a lot of the market saying we want to do better measurement. When you come up with more work, longer frameworks, and the challenge of measuring, we don't see necessarily the same energy to go deeper and to go further into that, isn't it?
And that's where data and actual analytics come and are actually useful into that front.
So if you want to measure better, there are people here to help you, huh? Let's do it. Can you commit to me that you're going to come to us, bring your business objectives, and tell us that you want to measure seriously, and we're going to do this? Can you commit to me? Final thoughts? Any final thought you have about that?
For me, just basically, just wrapping up on these actually 2 charts that we had that I'm not being able to change. But basically, the idea here, and one of the key points is that as we get more and more granular data and more accurate data into this, we will be able to come with even more insights to actual advertisers and actual media agencies to come with more specific details and recommendations on how to activate and to become even more productive and impact more on sales out of your media. So data is actually the fuel to any technique or any analytical technique that we have, whether it's MMM, multi-touch attribution, or whatever you want to use at the end. The data is the fuel, and using that in the right way will give us many ways to actually improve our businesses.
Thank you, Miguel. Any final thoughts? Anything else for us to close? What did you do leaving this room to make measurement better?
Okay. I would like to say that we as practitioners, we do have a lot of responsibility with the industry, and that is that everything that we do in the past was so complex that it was really hard to explain to the clients, right? So the biggest challenge that we have today is to make it simpler for the clients and the people that receive our services, so we can help them to manage the complexity of all of the data stuff, but also help them transition into a new era where they are real data-driven organizations. And for that, we also need to open the standards that we have, because we used to have everything in a black box. We didn't want to show everything that we had, like the magic. We didn't share the magic. We were not open to let the client or the different agencies to audit the work that we were doing, running models. And at the end, all of this is just something that we create to actually do some test and learn in the companies, right? Because in order to have clear results from marketing mix modeling, multi-source attribution, you need to have some trials and errors, right? Because when you fail, then you will recalibrate and then use that experience to prove a better work for your company. So that's the biggest responsibility that we have, and we're working on this sense.
Thank you, Carlos.
I would say two things, right? And we continue talking about digital and traditional. But I think the consumers have evolved, right? I don't think there's digital and traditional anymore. There's just a multi-screen environment. So we need to get better at understanding the behavior that the consumer has on this multi-screen environment. If I ask my kids, did you watch this on TV? Their answer is yes. I watched it on TV, but in reality, they watched it on a 4-inch screen that they carry around them all the time. So to me, it's how do we, as an industry, get better at kind of demystifying these data divisions between traditional and non-traditional and measure consumers one way in order to drive our business forward.
Great. Carol?
Yeah. I think that we have like a huge role to work on this together. I see like a lot of integration that we're going to need to do between, the lot of platforms that we have. And also we do have to work together with not only when I think about a partnership, it's not a partnership of Facebook with Nielsen. It would be like a partnership with Facebook, with other publishers, and with other media, or with other market research that are able also to measure other channels rather than digital. So we all need to work together to get those solutions. It's not easy. It's very tough because, as you mentioned, the topic of privacy, we have a huge police inside Facebook, especially that we privacy for us it's huge. So we need to build an environment that is safe also for the consumer and how to measure this. Today we have server-to-server integrations. We have a match with companies that they use a panel. Or, for example, in the case here of the MMM, we provide an UI where you can access the data. So it's a very different level of ways that we can do an integration, and the way also that you measure. But the future of that one, probably it's very complicated. It will be investing a lot of time, not only with one company working together with us. It's many companies working together to provide the right solution for you.
Miguel, any final thought that you have?
Yeah, I mean, just what I just said. The data that we use is actually the field that will improve our actual business decisions through analytics. So the techniques are there. We just need to work on our data, be mindful of our data, and we will be able to improve so much more through analytics.
So thank you so much for staying. Hope it was valuable for you and valuable for your business. Thank you.
Thank you.